Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Phoenix Literature Festival. Hello, everyone watching this on Facebook as well as the YouTube live of Literature Festival. My name is Haritosh Srivastav. I'm an author, speaker, as well as project manager, and I'm going to be the host come moderator of this panel discussion. Before we move on to what the discussion is all about, let me give you a brief about what is Phoenix Lit Festival and what we are doing now. So Phoenix Literature Festival is a unique platform for book lovers, authors, storytellers, and creative minds. Our mission is to empower children and youth to inculcate and develop reading, writing, and storytelling skills. This is the third literature festival since 2020. More than 35,000 viewers have enjoyed our session so far. PLF Junior is supported by SearchMyTenders.com, Revival Mastery, Small Town Bigger Dreams, The Weekly Show with Aditya, StartupJobs.in, Nirvana, Physical Education Foundation of India, The Seed Education, Mana Art, Wildlife Foundation, Kavaks, Ride With Us, The Eternal Quest, Saloon Line, and The Gym. Thank you so much, everyone, for supporting this initiative. Now, theme of today's panel discussion is something which is really close to my heart, and the topic is the role of a mentor in child's growth. So, before we move on, let me introduce my three esteemed panelists today, which I'm so delighted we are going to hear from them. Our first panelist is Abhijit Sinha. Abhijit Sinha is the founder and CEO of an international non-profit organization called Project Defy. Through his organization, he creates a new variety of schools which have no teachers, exams, or curricula, where children and adults of all ages decide what, when, and how they learn. These learning spaces, called Nooks, started in a small village in Karnataka and are now spreading around the world, already existing in Rwanda, Uganda, Zimbabwe, and Bangladesh, besides several parts in India. Abhijit believes that education system around the world need a complete reimagining so that we stop breeding children for jobs and start enabling children to happily live their lives and achieve their dreams. Thank you so much, Abhijit, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Lovely to be here.
Our second panelist is Ayan Pal. Ayan Pal is an IBM accredited IT consultant, author, speaker, and educator with a passion for volunteering. He is the recipient of 3 Bandon Hall Awards, 9 IBM Service Excellence Awards, and many more. He always makes it a point to share his knowledge and expertise with others. He has mentored students, delivered keynotes, conducted workshops, judged events across some of India's top educational institute, namely IITs, IIMs, etc., etc. Is a member and volunteer at Toastmasters International, a non-profit education organization headquartered in California, where he is currently serving North Central and East India, along with Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh, as a club co-director of District 41. Is also the author of Confessions on an Island, a thriller Romania in 2016. He has also contributed to several Amazon best-selling anthologies and co-authored Crossed and Knotted, which made it into the Limca Book of Records under literature. He has also been awarded by British Council for his contribution in the field of arts and culture and had his work showcased to the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles. He was also listed by Hindustan Times as one of India's top 5 writers in short fiction. Welcome, Ayan. It's again an honor, a pleasure to have you in this show. Our third and final panelist is MeghaAhuja. MeghaAhuja is a young trailblazer serving as an educationalist, art and social activist, and dynamic TEDx organizer. Passionately believing in the power of dreams, she is venturesome to take up nerve-wracking treks with audacity and optimism. After completing his Bachelor of Technology from Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, Delhi, and MBA from IMT Ghaziabad, she joined as the director of Vivekanand School, a premier educational institution in the heart of capital. She has been bestowed with many prestigious awards, including International Women's Day Award 2018-19, organized by Indian Council for UN Relations. She has also received Kalam Children Impact Award organized by Kalam Center. She successfully organized TEDx Vivekanand School in 2017, 18, and 19. She has been she has launched and has been connected with many social initiatives like Light Up a Life. She's also founder of Shakshat, the Ovarian Cancer Foundation, and also the founder of Ulan, a philanthropic school of differently able girls. She and her work has been published in various media and publications, including Femina magazine, Your Story, etc. Apart from all this, she is also the author of A Girl on a Mission, a microfiction for creating awareness about ovarian cancer, which is available on Kindle and all the other places. Her story, Love in the Sky, was published in anthology 20 Shades of Love, along with other stories by renowned author. It is again an honor to pleasure to have you, Megha, in this panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Haritosh. Pleasure to be here.
All right. So today's theme or today's topic is the role of a mentor in child's growth. You would have probably heard the saying that it takes a village to raise a child, and every child needs a mentor from that village, because mentors, I believe, are a bridge between their education and the world around them. So I'm going to ask all my panelists to give their opening remarks are what do they think is the importance of a mentor, especially for a child's education. Let's start off with Ayan. What do you think
Thank you
is the
so
role?
much. Thank you so much, Haritosh. I think a mentor is someone who does not necessarily tell a child what needs to be done, but shows the right kind of way. Now, for me, mentoring is something that does not only happen between a mentor and a mentee, as in a mentor going and teaching or telling something to a mentee, but it also helps develop that person. And all of us need to be mentors, especially to children, to ensure that the child within us still stays intact and the value is retained. I personally feel mentoring is very, very different from teaching or coaching, because while you're teaching a particular subject, which is the result of which or the success of which is going to be determined by societal things like marks or how well you've done in that subject, did you get a job, etc., etc. Sometimes coaching is more to do with skills. Have you learned this particular skill? Are you good enough to perform in a contest, etc., etc.? But mentoring gives you things that cannot necessarily be judged. But at the end of the day, you are going to be the best judge of what kind of mentoring you have received. And if you really look back to the kind of mentors we have had, because we have all had mentors in life, you would realize that they were not just our parents, they were not just our coaches, they were not just our teachers, but they were a combination of several factors who guided us and told us what we need to do by not necessarily telling us what we needed to do, but by making us want to be like them, by showing us what we needed to do. And I feel that is the best kind of mentoring that might be made available to anyone, especially children.
And I was doing what we call is at the line of the year 2020. I was on mute. Let's move on to our second panelist. Meghaji, you have been associated with education all around, and I think you probably would be the best person to answer this. What do you think is the importance of a mentor for child's growth and child's education?
Mentor is somebody who shows the way to the child to be what he wants to be. Every child is unique, every child has his own positive things, and mentor takes out those positive things from that child. It's very different from teaching. Teaching is where you're only focusing on the knowledge part of it. So mentoring is where you focus on knowledge, skills, as well as the attitude of the child. And it's as Ayan rightly mentioned, it's not about sharing with them what it is about. It is about telling them that yes, whatever you want to be, you can be, and you have to be a role model for them if you want to be a good mentor.
Amazing, amazing. And you touched a few things that I want to take it now to our third panelist. You said it's not only about telling them, it's about showing them, and you want to be a role model. Now I want to hear from our third panelist, who, as we heard from the introduction itself, that who is doing some unconventional thing and who's actually kind of showing versus telling. So Abhijit, what do you think is the role or importance of a mentor in our education system and otherwise also in children's growth?
I mean, yeah, obviously, in general, it sounds like a good idea to have mentors, but I have a slightly differing opinion when it comes to thinking about children. We sometimes get put into this box that only adults can mentor children. Only if you're older, you can mentor somebody who's younger. Only if you're experienced, you can mentor somebody who's inexperienced. I don't believe in this necessarily. I feel that mentoring can come from a whole lot of different ways, and we need to stop being condescending towards children and thinking that, oh, these little poor kids, they need adult mentoring. They can find mentorship in so many different ways from so many different sources. I can tell you from experience that I've had several children who have been mentors to me, and they are the reason why Project Defy exists. And I did not think of myself as a mentor to them, but instead it was quite the other way around. So yeah, mentorship can be a good thing, as long as we can separate the our biases out of there. As long as we can separate this feeling that only children need mentorship, or only adults can provide such mentorship. I still have many mentors. Many of them are younger to me, less experienced than me, but there are some things that I would like to get from them, and maybe not everything. Some things I choose not to take also. And to me, mentorship is that relationship where there's this possibility of choosing what you want to learn from this person, and then choosing to not learn some things also from that person. But there is this possibility, there's this bi-directional relationship where you're adding value to them, they're adding value to you. So yeah, slightly differing opinion when it comes to mentorship, and I'll speak more about it, but yeah, I think for this question that should be good.
Thank you so much, Abhijit. Whether it's a differing opinion or not, we'll get to hear from our panelists today. So let's take on that route. Uh, because we in corporate world, we know there's new terms, buzzwords coming called reverse mentoring or peer mentoring, where you don't have to be somebody who's more experienced and more expert to say to mentor somebody. But let me ask Megha ji, because you're directly associated, what do you think about this concept of reverse mentoring? Or no, can a kid, for example, of say 10, 12 years be a mentor to a kid who's probably slightly no elder than him or her?
I absolutely agree to what Abhijit said, and sharing my personal experience here. Like, I run a special school for special girls, and I have learned so much from them. As you're talking about reverse mentoring, like the way they get happy at the smallest of things. This is one small thing that I would like to share with you. It's something that we need to imbibe, and this is what I think. If they can be a mentor to somebody who's the founder of the institution, they can be mentor to other kids as well. So yes, and as you asked, like a child of 10, 12 year, can they be mentor to somebody like who's elder to them? It gets a little difficult in a school setup to do that, because like we are answerable to a lot of stakeholders, like parents and everybody. So if we'll go into such kind of a system, there'll be a lot of questions that will be raised that we'll have to answer, and it might get a little difficult to justify that. But otherwise, I think it is very much possible, because everybody is an individual, and as an individual, age doesn't matter. They can teach us a lot of things.
Amazing, amazing. So at least we have two panelists on one side, and let's hear from our third panelist, Ayan Pal. What do you think about this concept of reverse mentoring and peer mentoring that was raised by Abhijit? And also, I'll add on to that. Now, when we think about mentors and teachers, it's very easy for us to say, okay, you need to have teachers, you need to have mentors. But how do, as a kid or as a child, I differentiate between a teacher and a mentor? What can we tell them that, okay, this is how you identify?
Okay. I think the difference between a teacher and a mentor is whether it's a role or a responsibility. So, the teacher, as you would encounter probably in your school or in tuitions or whatever, is a role that someone is playing. For example, your teacher might be your school teacher, your teacher might be your grandmother, your teacher might be the maid who comes and does the cooking, your teacher might be your the neighborhood kid who is very good at playing cricket. However, the mentor may or may not be the teacher. And a mentor is someone you want to be like. A mentor is someone who teaches you things that you don't know. A teacher tells you what you don't know. A mentor tells
Mm,
you what you don't even know you don't know. And
wow.
now, talking about reverse mentoring, as I said in my opening statements, I think a relationship between a mentor and mentee goes both ways. For instance, I believe if I have to count my three most impactful mentors, they would be my grandmother, Attama, my mother, who is not there anymore, and my daughter, who is 5 years old. The kind of learning I've had from all three of them, sometimes I don't know whether I'm teaching my daughter something or she's teaching me something. The kind of patience and perseverance and energy she has
Mhm.
and is incredible. And I think that is exactly what Abhijit and Megha were also trying to say. And I think that is what
Absolutely.
we also refer to as peer mentoring. See, the point is when we talk about experiences, it's not about age, it's about the expertise in that particular skill.
Mhm.
If I want to learn yoga, I don't have any problem learning yoga from someone who is, say, 14 years old. Recently, I was at an event in which the students of a particular school, DAV school to be exact, they performed yoga on stage. I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. So I would rather be mentored by those students who are way younger than me. On the other hand, if I'm looking for, say, furthering my career in a particular domain, I would probably look out for an expert in that domain who can mentor
Mm,
me and give me a lot of their career advice and experiences. So it all boils down to what you are expecting to be mentored on, and accordingly, peer mentoring and reverse mentoring works. But sometimes people with very little experience, even in that particular field, might just remind you what to do or what not to do. And I think both are equally important.
amazing, amazing, great insight, Ayan. Uh, and this actually, just to be honest, I was watching some of the episode that was happening before, and there were a few young panelists, and their points raised by them were like amazing. I like, okay, the future is certainly in really, really good hands. So it was so heartening to see young authors, young panelists coming over there and participating in literature festivals like these. This is really heartening. So definitely reverse mentoring and peer mentoring is going to be there. Now let's move on to we now know the importance of mentoring. Why is it that? but but how do you find a mentor? How do you find that? We all get teachers or get somebody who's going to help us in certain skills, but the question comes, how do you find a mentor? Let's start with Megha ji. How does a kid find a mentor?
So it's basically, as far as a kid is concerned, like the role of parents in finding a mentor for a kid matters more than the kid himself or herself. It could be where, like the child, if child aspire to be somebody, or if they admire somebody too much and they listen to that particular individual. So that is where the role of the parents come, that they built upon that relationship between the mentor and the mentee, so that the exposure can be given to the child to like rise to higher levels.
Great, great. So, in the importance of parents and teachers are still there in terms of finding and probably setting up that relationship. Abhijit, you run an unconventional way of no teaching. So, how do you, in your setup, if you have to set up a mentoring relationship for a kid, how would you proceed? It would be no really interesting to hear that.
I mean, we don't run an unconventional way of teaching. We don't teach. So that's the bottom line. Um, I'll say this very honestly that I don't think mentors are given. I don't believe in giving mentors to people. I think mentors are chosen. You
Mm,
choose in your life, and you decide that this person I would like to listen to a little bit more, share a little bit more with this person, and learn a little bit more. So now, when we talk of our own spaces, I actually feel that parents are way to interfering in the learning process of a child. We scare children. We tell children that don't talk to strangers, don't talk to people. We become, we even call parents guardians, like as if you know the child is some sort of treasure you must protect. And in that process, we actually kill the possibilities of the child finding people, connecting with them, and mentoring, getting mentored or receiving that learning that he or she would have received, just by preventing them from connecting with a lot more people. We also, of course, make them busy in school life so much that forget mentorship. I mean, it's just a jargon for in that case, right? And we're just making them study for exams, and ultimately, I mean, there's no position left, there's no space left for a child. In our case, we actually we actually leave children to go and talk to people. We ask them who do they want to learn from, and that person might be a stranger. That's perfectly fine. Go and talk to that person. We will stand behind, make sure that you're not hurt, but we will not create this relationship for you, because this is ultimately your relationship. This is ultimately something you must learn how to handle, and you must figure out. Sometimes you will feel bad, sometimes things will not work out, but that's part of the learning. Because if you don't learn now, 20 years later, I cannot expect you to suddenly enjoy this freedom and be very good at finding your the right people to learn from. That process begins today. So I actually believe in leaving more space, allowing more natural possibilities. Of course, create situations, that's great, but let the child do the talking. Let the child make the approach and seek out people to learn from, because that seeking out process itself is a skill that we have to develop over time. And I hate the fact that for the longest time I was not allowed to do that, and so when I grew up, I had to learn from zero. I didn't know how to
Hmm.
trust people. I didn't know how to, learn from people or reach out to them. So I would not like other people to be disabled like that.
Wow, wow. Amazing, Abhijit. Couple of things that I picked up. One of is that the term that we call helicopter parenting, where you're like helicopter always on top of your kid, and what are you doing? Where are you going? Who are you meeting? I think that we need to probably stay away a little bit, but still be a facilitator for them to have those mentoring relationship. So Ayan Pal, what do you think about what are the different avenues for a kid to get try to find and discover mentors?
I think that's a very valid question, Haritosh, and the answer is unfortunately everything. People are going to be influenced by actors on celluloid. They're going to be influenced by things they see on social media. They're going to be influenced by the parents of their friends. They're basically going to be influenced by everyone. Now, who they choose as their mentor is going to be very, very uh, important to them in terms of the kind of lives we have. And whether we like it or not, I think as a parent, a lot of times I'm terrified about the kind of society we live in. Our society, whether we like it or not, is a society in which IITNs give rape threats to 6-month-old kids because of their father's performance in a cricket match. That's the kind of country we stay in. And it's a very, very scary place to be. And you can only control, and if you're talking about helicopter parenting or whatever, you can, even if you want to control, you can only control till a level, even though it is not a very good thing. But when it comes to
Absolutely.
safety and when it comes to trying to find out what is the right way to do, it's impossible to control children, and they are going to be mentored by so many things that we see. So how do we control that? Do we even need to control that? Do we allow them to have 24 hours of screen time? I think no. There has to be certain things that we have to control. There has to be parental guidelines. You cannot have your children below a particular age watch last stories on Netflix. Okay, for example, you can't do that. Now the question is, how much is too much, and how much is basic, and how much is necessary, and what kind of streaming plan do you have for your kids? Now that's a question we all, as mentees and mentors, would have to find the hard way, keeping in mind that it's literally like a multiverse out there, and everyone is going to be mentored by everything they see, everything they hear, but most importantly, by the people in their vicinity, the people they can touch and feel and see. So I guess the avenues are multiple, but oh, and this is so hard. You have
Yeah.
to just showcase. You can't tell people don't do this. Don't tell lies and then go and tell lies to your boss over the phone. They are able to see that. So you have to ensure that you are the best version of yourself, and hopefully your kids or the people around you will take that from you. So this is my opinion as a parent.
Absolutely, totally agree. You can't be watching Netflix all day and tell your kid to go and read that book. You have to read the book at least for some time in front of them to actually become the role model that you want them to be. Very, very valid point. And as we are getting towards the end of this panel discussion, I've loved all the points by all of you. So amazing insight. Now we are coming towards and I wanted to ask, no, we have talked about reaching out to mentor and how do you make the environment, but what is in it for a mentor? Why should I become a mentor? Why should no I mentor somebody who's young or old, who's somebody looking for a particular expertise? Why should I invest my time into that? Megha ji, what are your views on that?
See, it's a cycle of life. When we were young, we were mentored by so many people, and because of which we've reached to a certain point. And if we are not giving back the same thing, it is the requirement. Like if we are going to help a single child, when they're going to grow up, they're going to help other child as well. So, like this is what we do in our schools also. If children are, even when they're small, they are teaching the underprivileged as well. We have special classes running where the children are giving back to the society what they are getting. So it's very important to let that cycle flowing.
Very nice. It's important to let the cycle flowing. It's important to give back to the society. Abhijit, what are your views of why somebody should think about becoming a mentor if they choose to?
I think if you have to think about it, you probably are not being chosen to become one. So, I have, honestly speaking, I would say that anytime anybody came to me and said, I would like to be your mentor, I outrightly denied that opportunity, because it's a relationship that has to organically develop. And we don't start by calling each other mentor, mentee, because it becomes frivolous. Kind of like the corporate environment you mentioned, the jargons they use and so on. It's superficial and it makes no sense. If you have to think so much about it, it's probably not going to work out. And um, yeah, it is. I mean, I've done all this work so far, but I've never felt that this is like giving back anything. I've always felt that this is me doing things that I enjoy doing. And similarly, I would say that when it comes to mentoring, or sharing what I know, I wouldn't think that I'm a mentor to anyone. But if I'm sharing what I know and people want to use that, then the decision for me to engage in that is purely if I'm enjoying that conversation. If it is, intriguing, fun, curious, maybe.
Mhm.
I don't care if I'm getting something out of it right now, or if even the person who's talking to me is getting something out of it either. As long as it is interesting, it's perfectly fine. That's how I think I've had relationships with people who, my mentors, they don't know that they are my mentors. We never had this discussion that, okay, from today I assign you as my mentor, here, sign the contract. Nothing like that. But they are my mentors. In my heart, I know that they are, and whether they realize it or not. And maybe in the same way, I'm assisting some other people. So yeah, I wouldn't care so much about what do you get or what not. I mean, anyway, we live in a transactional world now. Like, everything that they that we do is so transactional. Ye kiya to this we will get. We do that, then that we will get. I mean,
Yeah.
at some point, one must think, "Achal, can I do something without an agenda?" So maybe this is that one thing you could try. Like, forget about the agenda, forget about, just engage in a relationship with someone. It may turn to be very beautiful. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Amazing, Abhijit. We were expecting some unconventional wisdom from you, and here you are. Don't worry about WIIFM, which is what is in it for me, and work more on what's the fun and am I getting the joy of doing this, and then don't always do that transactional thing we all get into. But if you go away from these transactional things and look into what you're having pure joy, maybe you can become a mentor without having that explicit assignment of mentor mentee. So Ayan pal, what do you think is the benefits for being a mentor, whether it's explicit or implicit relationship? What do you want to throw light on?
I think for me, mentoring happens for three reasons, okay? For health, wealth, and happiness. The happiness part is the toughest to get, where you mentor simply because you love mentoring. Like, say, for example, you're very good at something and you love sharing it with the rest of the world because that brings you joy. It's doing good because doing good is good and not
Hmm.
because you want to do good. So that's the happiness part. Then there is the health part. And I'm talking about physical health and mental health here. And we all know that the best way to be better at something is to be teaching it to other people. And mentoring is an indirect way of ensuring you, as an individual, become a better, stronger person. And the third part is wealth. You mentor people because you want to give and take back. Sometimes you are giving and taking back money. Sometimes you're giving the most precious thing you own, your time. And I believe mentoring is something you can never get back, that time that you used to mentor someone. It's also wealth because at the end of the day, you need to be invested in it. So you're really investing your time and you're really investing your efforts. And both the parties are doing that. They don't want uh, that it, that time to go waste. So I believe it's a little bit of health, wealth, and happiness. And sometimes it's just necessary. So you have to mentor people because they are a part of your lives, and their success determines whether or not you are going to be in a happier place to be. So sometimes it's selfish, sometimes it's selfless. But what I've realized is the more you mentor, the less you have to think about it, and the more naturally it comes out, the lesser you have to worry about whether or not you're doing a good job. As long as you know why you're mentoring, as long as your mentee know what is the right kind of expectation, I think that's all that is required, and health, wealth, and happiness will follow in some way or the other.
Amazing, amazing, Ayan. Simon Sinek says start with why, and if you know your why, whether it's a mentoring or anything else, it will definitely lead to a better results. If I they say in that corporate word. We are coming towards the end of this panel discussion. It has been a pleasure listening to all of you, hearing your different insight. So now I'm going to ask you for the concluding remarks on this whole topic of uh, whether the kid has to have a mentor and how they have, and what is the importance of having mentor for a children's growth. So let's hear the concluding remarks from Meghaji first.
So from the mentor's perspective, it's all about having a what can I give attitude, and it's an organic relationship that has to be built between two individuals where both of them want the success of the other, and uh, the mentee is seeing mentor as the role model, and uh, that is what is helping him or her grow.
Thank you so much, Meghaji. Ayan Pal, your final concluding remarks for this panel discussion.
Thank you, Haritosh. I believe there is a very thin line between a mentor and a tormentor. And sometimes it's very easy to get to the other side, in which you're pressurizing, forcing, belittling. Please don't. Please know when you are on the verge of going to the other side and stop, pause, rethink. Are you really mentoring, or have you gone into the zone of being a teacher or a coach? Nothing wrong with it. But mentoring, teaching, and coaching are three very different things. And you should know where you are and what is your natural style. Please, it's better if you don't be a mentor, but please don't be a tormentor. So that's what I would like to say.
All right. Ayan Paul says, be a mentor, not a tormentor. Abhijit, final concluding remarks from you.
Yeah, simple things mostly. That well, I will not speak from the mentor's perspective, but if you want to assist somebody in, be it your children, be it in your classroom or wherever they are, if you are going to assist children, then don't try to find mentors for them. Don't try to be the middleman and providing mentorship on a silver platter. Assist them in building relationships, support them when they fall in and relationships don't work out, and be the backbone that is there present to lean on when it is getting hard, when the kid is struggling to make a meaningful connection with someone. Assist in that process. Don't try to become the messiah for the child, that here I have come to mold you into the perfect version of yourself. The child is already a perfect version of himself or herself, and there is no need for attempting to change so drastically. And if you are going to become a mentor, then it is not going to be your choice. Let that choice come from the person who seeks the mentorship from you. So that's my concluding statement.
Thank you so much, Abhijit. It was a pleasure listening and learning from all of you, coming from different perspective, but yet we all, I think, agree that mentoring plays a role, but you cannot force a mentoring, whether it's for a kid, whether it's for an adult one. And as a parent or as a teacher, we can be more of a facilitator, a coordinator at times, and still not force that mentoring relationship. So thank you so much, Ayan. Thank you so much, Megha. Thank you so much, Abhijit. It was a pleasure and honor to have you on this session. So, audience, please enjoy rest of the Phoenix Literature Festival. For now, we are signing off. Take care and enjoy the Phoenix Literature Festival. Thank you so much.
Thank you.